Doug, we are back. We are back together
Yeah.
again. I miss you, man.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
How long has it been? It's been about, what, 2 weeks, I think.
Well, I think there's 2 gaps, and then this is the 3rd week.
This is the 3rd week.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
But it feels good to be back together again.
It does feel good to be back together again. Although we've met in those times in the time that we haven't been together, we have seen each other.
Oh, yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah, we've done some stuff.
But we haven't been together on this platform.
In this format.
Yeah.
In other words, to talk to everybody out there and kind of share some opinions. I don't want to say wisdom. That's up for grabs. Just share some thoughts and talk about the church and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Today is December 8th. And we are
here.
Boy,
it flies fast.
Time flies really fast.
Oh,
really
man.
fast. December 8th, Midweek Faith Lift, and we're just here to kind of talk about all things spiritual today. And first of all, let me ask you, before we go into our little spiritual talk, whatever that's going to be.
Whatever
sometimes
it's going to be.
we know what it is, and sometimes we don't.
Right.
And I think that's the good thing about this little podcast that we do. Sometimes we just go off the cuff of our spirit,
Yeah.
But before we get into that,
okay,
I wanted to know a little bit about your Thanksgiving. How was it?
I thought it was great
because I know we had everyone had their own little Thanksgiving, personal Thanksgiving at home, and then we had a little potluck with the church group.
Right.
So I'm asking you personally, how was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah, it was great. We, when we, this is my living room, by the way, where we do these podcasts, and my daughter and her husband were able to come.
Nice.
My mother-in-law, was here, and so she's a great lady.
Yeah.
She's 91 years old, running circles around me.
Yeah, she's a strong woman.
Yeah, she's great. So we had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and then shortly after that, we had we had a service, the next Sunday, and we had leftovers and potluck and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that went very well. The talk that I gave that Sunday was on your divine purpose.
Yeah, that was Edwin Gaines' book, from Edwin Gaines' book.
Yeah. And I think that went very well. It was a light talk, It wasn't heavy or anything like that. We talked about finding our joy, finding our bliss, and following those good, enthusiastic feelings, and allowing that to develop, where you want to go. And I talked with some people afterwards, and they all appreciated it. They got something out of it. One lady came up to me afterwards, and I made a little quippy remark during the service. It wasn't a big part of it, but I just said, "Oh, by the way, Edwin calls this the party planet." And this one lady came up and said, "Oh man, that was the takeaway for the day." Oh man!
Wow! Yeah, I was not able to make that Sunday.
Well, you were in New York City.
I was in New York.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Visiting family. Courtney and I went out to Brooklyn to visit family. We had a really, really good time.
Good.
Yeah. And so we got a chance to see my grandmother, who's about 90. I said 30. Yeah. She's 93 years old. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, she's doing really, really well.
Wow.
Yeah, still in her right mind. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And Courtney got a chance to meet her and some family members, and then we got a chance to run around the city and just get. He was able to see New York for the first time, so that was really nice.
Did you see the Statue of Liberty?
We didn't see the Statue of Liberty, but we went out to Times Square and went and did some other, did a little shopping. The shopping you do in New York you can't do, and you don't get a chance to do here in
in Tennessee.
It's different.
It's different
type of shopping. Yeah. And so we did a little shopping and went to a couple places to eat. Got some Junior's cheesecake. You ever heard of Junior's restaurant?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, Junior's is a famous Brooklyn restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, cheesecake. So we had a great time. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, Penny was from New York City. I mean, she actually grew up on Long Island, and so she knew the city fairly well. I grew up in upstate New York, which is more of a rural environment. And when I used to go down and visit her, I can remember racing taxi cabs, but that was in my younger days. But New York City is just something else.
Yeah, it is. It was a bit overwhelming for Courtney, his first time in New York. And he's from a rural, small little town, probably about 800 people.
Yeah.
In Alabama, dirt road. kind of place. So going to
Well, I tell you, even if you're
this is a big town to him, you know.
Even if you're from Signal Mountain and go to New York City, it's like it's a shock. You know.
Yeah.
But
it was something that you said. I want to go back into the service because I remember I did get a chance to watch the service online. And
it is online, by the way. We didn't broadcast it live that day, but we did record it, and it is online. So for those of you who perhaps weren't able to be there on Sunday and haven't seen it online, it is online if you want to go there and check it out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed finding the topic was finding your purpose, and it was a part in that service where I remember you talking about how God was it's like your purpose is pretty much whatever you whatever comes to you.
Well, whatever you decide it to be,
right? Whatever you
you know, it's up to you.
Because it's like when there was a portion of the service where you asked God, "What is my purpose?" and God said, "You already know." Something like that. I remember.
Okay. Well, and I did quote it at one point in time something that Edwin Gaines said. You know, and just to paraphrase it, Edwin was interested in what her purpose in life was. Now she'd started the tithing because she started out in poverty. She had a lot of problems in that area, and she developed a spiritual practice. And then she started out with tithing, and then became a little more wealthy. Okay, then she started setting goals for herself and discovered how that works. And so as we decide what we want. What we know is that providence moves too. We are creator beings, okay? And so once we set goals and start going in that direction, walking in that direction, then things start to manifest, okay? And then we come up against blocks, internal blocks, where she talked about forgiveness and releasing those blocks. And once you do those types of things, your life becomes pretty good. And at some point in time, you say, well, you know,
what's next?
Yeah. And sometimes you say, why am I here?
Right.
You know, what's my divine purpose? And
because I mean, you have everything you need to some extent. It's like, so what's next for me?
Exactly. In other words, what am I here to do, to fulfill? Is there a greater mission? Is there... And once you get your own needs met, then typically what happens is you want to help others, okay? Especially if you open up, you know, spiritually a little bit. And so we started talking, well, what is your divine purpose? Well, Edwin, one of the reasons I use this book is that Edwin is just funny.
Yeah.
And when she used to come, or whenever I would see her in person and she would do a talk, she just had this down-home country humor, you know, that was just funny. And one of the things she said, it was in her book, when she got to what's my divine purpose, she said in prayer, said, okay, God, this is Edwin. I'll do anything you want. I'm here. I'm ready to do it. Just show me the way, and I'll do it. And she got quiet, and then she heard God. And God said, Edwin, this is God. I'm right here for you.
Right.
Whatever you want.
That's what I was talking about. Like, yeah, like what
right.
You wait for that answer. He's like, whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Wow.
And I'm here, and I'm right behind you.
Wow.
You know. And that's kind of the way it works. And the other thing, that I have found, at least in my life,
I think a lot of people wait for a message of something to do, and I've heard people describe that God has told them to do a particular thing.
Right.
But in this situation, it sounds like I'm here to back you up. Whatever you want to do, I'm here to back you up with.
Right.
And that sounds a little different to me.
Well, I think the key thing here is, let me back up just a little bit. I do believe that each one of us is here as an eternal being. Okay, we've had previous lives and existences. It may have been on this planet. It may have been another dimension, whatever. And we're here on this planet in this time to experience something, okay,
particular
for ourselves.
Right.
And as we experience that, there's not only a gift for ourselves, but there's a gift for everybody else.
Wow.
You know,
Wow,
not only does it uplift us, but it uplifts everybody else. And if we take a look at the lives of some of the greatest on the planet, you know, obviously Jesus, you know, Buddha, some of the great spiritual masters. But then if we take a look at the 20th century, there's Gandhi, there's Martin Luther King, there's Mother Teresa, you know, many people who have felt a greater calling. They have seen things that they want to make better for people, and they've gone out and done those things. But we have to remember those people did their inner work too. I mean, Mother Teresa was a Roman Catholic. She was very devout, and she searched a lot within herself. You know, what's mine to do? What's, you know, that sort of thing. And take a look at Gandhi. I mean, he was a very well-educated lawyer in a country that was riddled with poverty and not well-educated. Take a look at Martin Luther King Jr. You know, I think he had a PhD or something.
Yeah, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Dr. Martin Luther King. And he worked very, very hard at discovering not only within himself, but how do I take that forward? So your divine purpose, oftentimes it feels like something inside that you're called to do, that you like to do, that you feel good doing. And it could be anything. Now these are the greats that we've talked about. Some of the greatest politicians, well, I'm thinking of Washington. I'm thinking of Lincoln. You know, those people. Certainly FDR during the Depression and World War II and that sort of thing. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. One of the persons that I've often talked about and looked up to was my grandfather, and he came from very humble beginnings. He worked in a factory running a turret lathe, okay? And, you know, hourly wages, that sort of thing. He had a little bicycle shop in the back. But the interesting thing, he was a volunteer fireman. But the interesting thing about that is everybody in town knew that he did the bicycle shop, okay? And they brought their bikes to him to fix. There was a modest fee for it, but I always thought he was giving it away, but a modest fee. And in the factory where he worked, which was a fairly large factory, lots of people, it was organized, which means there was a union there. And oftentimes when there was an issue, and the union and the management didn't quite see eye to eye, what they would both do is they would go down to his workstation. His name was Val, and they'd say, "Val, would you come up and talk to us?"
Wow.
And they would explain the situation, and then they would just simply say, "What do you think?"
Wow.
You know, what do you think? They wouldn't ask him to pass final judgment, but they would say, "What do you think?" And that happened. It didn't happen all the time because there weren't that many issues, okay? But when some of the big ones came up, they would say, "What do you think?" And he would say, "Well," and from everything I have heard, the scuttlebutt from the place, you know, that's what went down. They'd say, "Thank you very much, appreciate it," and neither the union nor management wanted to put him in the vice, okay? But they would ask his opinion and said, you know, thank you. And the interesting thing about my grandfather, again, very humble, you know, worked with his hands. Everybody in town knew him. Everybody in town respected him. I was on the football team when I was in high school, and a lot of my friends would work in this factory during the summer. You know, as long as you were 18 or lied your way in, whatever. But you know how that goes. If you grew up in New York, are you 18 to buy this beer? Sure I am. Here's my ID. Yeah, right. Okay.
I don't know anything about
doesn't,
that, Doug.
Doesn't quite look like you, but
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't either. Just a story. But anyway, so what would happen is we'd come back for football practice, and as seniors, in the fall of the year, and every so often one of my friends would come up and say, "Is Val Guthrie your grandfather?"
Wow.
And I would, because people knew, and I'd say, "Yeah, he's my grandfather," and they'd look at me and they say, "Man." Do you know how strong your grandfather is? And I said, yeah, I do. Every time I shake his hand, about takes it off. But on the other side of it, they would say, he's quite a guy.
Wow.
Everybody knows him.
Wow. Wow.
And that's divine purpose. That's living in integrity. That's, I think that's what it's all about. So it really doesn't, it doesn't matter so much what you do as how you do it and what character traits you bring with that, the type of life you live. That's pretty much what it's all about. One thing I didn't mention in that talk, Edwin talks about, so once you figure out kind of something you want to do, it's all about living in integrity. Living in integrity with who you are, what you want to do, and what you believe your purpose is. And she gives a few things. She says, always pay attention. It's about walking your talk. It's about listening. It's about being present to every particular situation that shows up in your life, because every one of those, again, law of attraction, law of mind action, you know that what's inside of you is attracting situations. And sometimes here comes a situation that needs to go to a higher level. And so the whole idea is to be present, be mindful, pay attention to what's going on, because it's all important. Nothing is not important, so pay attention. The second thing she says is always tell the truth and tell it quickly. And a lot of us have a tendency, the old story about the little white lie, or well, this will sound better if I present it this way or that way, or no. What,
Damn. No.
I tell you, years ago I was.
Maybe that's why you have to tell it quickly. You tell it quickly so that you can get the truth out.
Well, not only that, but it usually is quick, and Jesus always said, let it be yes, quick, yes, or no, no, anything else is. Right. And so the idea, not only be present and mindful, but when something comes up, be able to say, this is the way I see it, or this is what happened, and leave it that way. Years ago, I was living in Chicago, and it was one of the first big snowstorms, and there was cars off in the ditch, and I'm trying to get home, and here's this one car in the ditch, and this young lady was there, and obviously, distraught, and there's cars backed up all over. So I rolled down the window and I said, do you need a ride home?
Right.
And she was appreciative, so she hopped in, and I said, okay, well, I'm going this, we're all going that way. Her car was in the ditch. And so we just gathered, we started a conversation, as I'm taking her to her apartment or wherever she was going at the time. And I can remember she started talking about some of her friends and, boyfriends and stuff like that. And she came out with this whole story around this relationship that she wanted to get out of. And, I'm driving along and I'm kind of listening to that. And finally I looked at her and I said, well, why don't you just tell them you want to be friends,
Right.
I mean, that's the crux of what you're saying, rather than all the rest of it. And she looked at me like deer in the headlights, like it just
like a break. Was it a breakthrough for her?
Well, I think it was something that she hadn't considered. And so the idea is just tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
And tell it quickly.
Tell it quickly.
Yeah. And because what's happened when you go through all this rigmarole, people are going to know what the essence of it is anyways. So
Just
tell
get
the
right to
truth
the exact nature.
and tell it quickly, and that sort of thing. And so here's the other one. She says, always keep my agreements. And always take responsibility for your life. So in other words, when something comes up, again, law of attraction, law of mind action, you're living in integrity, something comes up, okay, what is it about this particular situation? Why is it here? What's mine to do? Okay, and just take responsibility for it. Don't be pointing the fingers here or there or something like that. One of the big changes that I've seen in this culture, I would say in the last 10 years, I watch the NFL, the National Football League. You know, I have a couple of favorite teams. I like watching for that. And one of the things that I've seen lately, and I'd say in the last few years, when a coach gets up and they've lost the game, what he'll do is he'll comment positively about the other team, and then he'll take responsibility.
Right.
You know, and the quarterback will get up and they'll say,
I got more to do.
I got more to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't.
Yeah. I wasn't on my game today.
Yeah.
Maybe I can practice a little bit.
They own it.
Yeah, they own up to it. Yeah.
They own it.
Yeah.
And once you own that stuff, rather than pointing the finger at somebody
you can do
else.
something about it.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can do something about it. If you don't,
That's
I
it.
totally agree. Responsibility
That's it.
is important. Yeah.
If you ever want to get on with your divine purpose, those are the things that you need to do.
Yeah. We want to let our viewers know that service is actually archived on our Unity of Chattanooga Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so if you're interested in viewing that, no, actually that's on our YouTube page. It's on our YouTube page. So if you're actually interested in viewing that service that Doug did for us, it's on Unity Chattanooga YouTube page. Now, what was that food like? We had a little potluck after.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
There was a whole table full of it, you know, and Fay Ann was really funny.
I watched that like I
Right.
said earlier, I watched it, and Fay Ann mentioned something about.
Well, she got up to do her announcements, you know, and she stumbled a little bit and said, "Yeah, it's the food. You can smell it, you know." It was great.
Yeah.
But no, we had a lot of food afterwards, and it was great. And one of the nice things about getting together that I always like is that afterwards you have an opportunity to just get together and talk with each other, and there's always food, you know, that sort of thing, and just have something to eat, and you know.
Fellowship is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're getting together a little bit more than we have in the past. I mean, not saying COVID is behind us, but we're moving forward with getting together a little bit more. As a matter of fact, we have the whole month of March booked at the Red Bank Community Center. So so we'll be there every Sunday in March.
Yeah.
So we
And our building fund is starting to gain some traction.
We're so grateful for the donations that we're receiving. Yeah. So we are moving forward. Yeah.
Well, you know, the vision that I've always had of Unity of Chattanooga. I mean, not only when I was a minister, but now as I'm becoming a little more active, you know, and doing some talks and things.
I remember back then, man, when you were going through your medical.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, Doc. You were like, oh, I'm kind of going through it right now. But it's amazing what God does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at you now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I'm, I've had the engine tune up.
Yeah, man. You're moving around
or
a lot.
overhaul.
Yeah, you're moving around a lot.
Yeah, so I'm feeling, I tell you, the biggest, the biggest challenge I'm having right now is staying away from all the things that took me up to about 230 pounds.
Wow.
And I'm gaining weight like crazy.
Wow.
So now the idea is to
peel back a little
control it and make sure I don't go up 3 pant sizes like I did last time.
Yeah. I'm actually working on that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make it happen. Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and they were like, "Listen, man, I'm the kind of guy. I'm like all or nothing kind of guy." So I'm like, I'm going to wait until.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, yo, you've been waiting. Yo is like a New York thing, yo. Yeah. It's like,
Hey, I know what you're talking about.
But
You talking to me, huh?
but he's like, you got to stop with the. I'm gonna wait until after Christmas, or I'm gonna wait until after Thanksgiving. Just start a little bit. Just do a little bit at a time. Just
Right.
it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. And so I'm practicing that. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to start completely new. I can just do a little bit.
Right.
And that works. You know,
Right.
eventually it'll, like you said, gain traction. Right. And we'll take
Small
off.
steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, years ago when Penny and I first got married, I weighed about 185 pounds, and 6 months later I was 205. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, but
Do relationships do that? In a new relationship, they tend to.
well, it was behavior changes.
That's
Number
what it is, I
one,
think,
I had
yeah.
regular meals because Penny's a good cook,
Right,
and
yeah.
she did that. And the other thing is that I stopped running around with all my nefarious friends. so
It's a combination of those.
it was the
Yeah.
combination. All of a sudden, when I was single, food was not necessarily my highest priority.
Right.
Okay, it was there,
Right,
but
right.
you know,
We're high on the list. Yeah.
but so anyways, what I did, the point of that story is I realized I was gaining a lot of weight, and so what I did. As an engineer, okay, I made a chart, okay, this day by day by day by day,
Yeah,
okay, and my goal was to lose a pound a week.
And that's not hard.
It's not that hard.
It's not that difficult.
And for guys, all you got to do is skip lunch.
It's really not that difficult.
And I did an exercise program, and I stayed away from the donut. I was working at a large company that had a wonderful cafeteria, and you could go there for your mid-morning break, and there's donuts and coffee and all kinds of great stuff.
You have choices.
Yeah.
Choices in there, yeah.
And so, just cut back on the donuts, do a little more exercise, moderation in things. And I just, over the course of 6 months, I got it back down. So everything in moderation, do a little bit at a time. With a goal in mind, like you're doing,
Taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Being mindful, taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Before we go, I wanted to talk a little bit about our upcoming service.
Okay.
We have a service coming up. I'm going to put it up now.
the
And that's
19th?
Sunday, December 19th at Red Bank Community Center.
Yeah.
At 11 a.m., we're inviting our viewers to come out to our candlelight service. Yeah. That's a candlelight service. Now, what do we do during that time?
Well, it's
candlelight. That's one of my favorite times.
Well, it's a tradition in Unity, and it's just a wonderful service. It's a time to kind of bring in and feel the essence of what Christmas is all about.
And we've kind of started that now with this little thing back here.
Yeah, there it is. Well, next week I'll wear my Santa hat.
But it's to feel the essence, you said.
Yeah, it's the essence of what Christmas is, and what you'll see there is you'll see the four Advent candles. You'll see the Christ candle. There we'll light all those candles and the Christ, and talk about that, and talk about the meaning of Christmas a little bit, and then we invite people up. We have some votive candles, big table of that, and you're invited to come up and light a candle for a loved one that, for whatever reason, couldn't be with you this season or today or something like that. Oftentimes it's relatives, loved ones that have passed, but sometimes it's mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters who are just in another state. It could be anything. If you've got a person on your mind during this season that you just like to remember, come up and light a candle for them. And then as you light that candle, then we form a circle and we sing Silent Night with our candles lit. And it's absolutely a wonderful service. It just kind of brings the season and as I talk about the season, I'm just it's all of a sudden it's here.
It's here.
I mean, yeah. poof. Yeah, here we are.
Comes fast.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're going to have our Burn and Bowl a couple weeks after that. I'm going to put this back up one more time. So
Okay.
that's December 19th at Red Bank Community Center at 11 a.m. We're going to have our candlelight service. And then again, on Sunday, January 9th at Red Bank Community Center, we're going to have our Burning Bowl ceremony.
Yeah.
And both those times, you're going to be with
I'm
us.
going to be doing those.
Yeah, so we're excited to have you back with us again.
Well, I appreciate that.
And will Landis be with you?
As far as I know,
Cool.
Penny's the one that sets that up.
Okay,
But as far as I know, and the reason for that is that when I was the minister for 10 years prior to this, Landis was a regular musician, and Landis and I got to know one another, fairly.
You guys gel well together.
We do,
Yeah.
and
But you and him don't gel well, and me and you on this. No, I'm joking. Well, I get it.
But here's the thing. We had, I would get up to do a meditation, okay? And my meditations back in those days were a little bit different than they are today. Today I usually do them after the talk to bring in some of the thoughts that we just discussed, okay? And those meditations are relatively short. Prior, I used to do the meditation beforehand, and it was longer. And we had a number of musicians that were very good at what they did, okay? But there was something about Landis. Landis grew up Southern Baptist, and he just has a feel.
He know how to bring that.
Oh, he does.
He can bring it in.
He has a feel for it. And what I would do is
when I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
well, what I was going to say was when I would get up to do a meditation, I would start out, and then once Landis put that music underneath it, it was a whole different feeling. Man, I could just feel those doors open.
I noticed when you get up to speak, you look back at him after his songs. Like after because he'll sing like 2 songs before you speak.
Right.
And when you get up, I can see that you feel his
Oh,
song.
yeah.
You'll get up
That's
and
right.
you'll look back at him and you'll go, wow, So I can see that you're definitely feeling the music from him. Yeah. So.
Well, one of the things they told us in ministerial school that I have found to be true is that the message and the music are I mean, that's what makes a service.
It's important,
and you want to integrate those. And there have been some disaster stories that I've
the message in the music,
and when those two things gel, and one feeds the other, it's not only the thoughts and the visualization, but it's the emotion. You combine those two, and you just have it's a wonderful experience.
Well,
and Landis knows how to do that.
Yeah, and you do too. And again, I just want to welcome you. Invite you guys out to our Sunday service on December 19th. And Doug and Landis is going to be there. And Landis is going to bring the spirit in.
That's right.
And Doug, thank you so much, man. I'm glad
for
us to be back in business doing what we do.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's good.
And thank our viewers for viewing. And if you have any questions, any comments, shoot us a message on our right in the chat, and we'll be sure to answer those questions.
Great.
For you. Okay.
Cool.
We'll see you later.
All right. Thanks for watching us.